Hello and welcome back to the Debrief. Let's just jump straight into it because I have a question, and the question is, what in the weird white guy is going on with UK television? We're going to speak about 3 specific people, but the reason why I want to talk about this is because I actually think it's quite, what's the word? It's worrying and it's concerning that we allow men in positions of power, specifically white men, to get away with so much for so long. First of all, we are going to talk about none other than Mr. Tim Westwood himself. Former Radio 1, 1Extra and Capital DJ, was accused by numerous women of predatory and unwanted sexual behaviour in incidences between 1992 and 2017. The allegations were published in a joint investigation by the BBC and The Guardian in April 2022. The 7 women, who are all black, gave detailed accounts in the aftermath of anonymous allegations of inappropriate behaviour by Westwood, which were originally circulated on social media in June 2020. Now, push pause. I have a Tim Westwood story pulling close. I went to university at the University of Bedfordshire, and Tim Westwood came down for an event. And I was at this event with Tim Westwood. Now, I wasn't with him, but I was in the room where he was at. A friend of mine gets spotted from across the room by creepy Tim Westwood, and he sends one of his posses to come and collect my friend and say, hey, Tim would like to talk to you. Tim would like a moment with you. Do you want to come over to the VIP booth? Obviously, she's gassed. It's Tim Westwood. And at that time, like, there was stories circulating around, but nothing crazy. So we said, all right, girl, you know, go get yourself a little bottle or whatever. Go pop it with Mr. Tim Westwood. We'll see you at the end of the night. 2-3 hours pass. She comes back. And let me tell you something. Little Miss Girl had a story to tell. It's not mine to tell, but what I will say is when this story came out about Tim Westwood and these women who had these allegations against him, I was not surprised, okay? That was very Wendy Williams of me. I was not surprised, but that's all I'll say on that. So let's go back. There was an online hashtag called hashtag Surviving Tim Westwood. One of Westwood's accusers alleged she was 17 and in a R&B group when Westwood, then in his mid-30s, subjected her to unwanted oral sex. Quote, he could make or break your career, the woman, calling herself Tamara, said if you wanted to get any kind of exposure, you would try to get your demo to him and pray that he would play it. He had absolute power within the recording industry and the black community. Despite him being a white man, he had absolute power, which, can I just say, infuriates me to my core, as in nothing aggravates me more. How dare you? We've invited you into a predominantly black space, and here you are trying to monopolize and have absolute power. And the fact that he was given this power by other white men pisses me off. But anyway, I digress. It is believed that 18 women in total have come forward, 4 of which say they were under 18 when the incident happened. One girl said she was as young as 14. Some of the new accusers claimed the DJ, who was an early supporter of hip-hop in the UK, used his position in the music industry to exploit women. They shared their accounts in a BBC 3 documentary called Tim Westwood, Abuse of Power. And I suggest you absolutely go and watch it. Westwood's career as a DJ took him to student unions, like I said with my uni story, across the country. And by the late 2000s, he was flogging Durex condoms to teens and students under the tagline, strap it up before you slap it up. I just was sick in my mouth. It's disgusting. He won multiple Mobos for Best DJ. He got multiple co-signs from black musicians in the UK and in the US. His allegations shone a light on how Tim Westwood's black past allowed him to allegedly abuse young black women and continue to have a fruitful career to this day. Tim Westwood has strongly rejected all allegations of wrongdoing. So what's been done? Detectives said that they interviewed a 66-year-old man under caution last year, and there has been no arrest made. The hip-hop DJ held a Saturday night slot on Capital after leaving BBC Radio in 2013. In April 2022, when the allegations surfaced, Global, the parent company of Capital, was heavily criticised, including by its own staff, for not addressing the claims publicly and for keeping Westwood's show running when allegations of sexual misconduct against Westwood first emerged. Later that month, a Global Radio Capital Extra parent company spokesperson told press outlets, following the claims that have recently come to light, Tim Westwood has stepped down from his show until further notice, which again, I think is a crack of shit because he should have been fired. And here's the thing, I'll be honest with you, when the victims are women, people rarely take the allegations seriously, and less so when they are black women. And that's how Tim Westwood has been able to get away with this alleged abuse and behaviour for so long. The allegations also led to a change.org petition calling for the Mayor of London and the Met Police to launch an investigation into Westwood's behaviour towards black female students. It accumulated more than 6,000 signatures. However, that doesn't seem to be enough because the 67-year-old has continued to play in gigs up and down the country despite some campaigners calling for nightclubs not to host him since the allegations emerged. The Mail Online reported that he had moved to Lagos, Nigeria, like I said, for the first half of this year. In a video that appeared on social media last year, the DJ was asked whether the allegations were true. He replied, "They're all false allegations. I will prove that as soon as I get my opportunity, and trust me, I am ready." We will see what happens. Now, I feel like we should also move on to someone else who the BBC have protected over the years. We are going to talk about Huw Edwards. Now, let's do a little bit of a rundown on Huw Edwards, okay? He is one of the most notable and best paid BBC news anchors, having covered the country's major events over the last 40 years. He was someone that the public could trust. Now, that was until the 3rd of July 2023 when the Sun newspaper published a front page news story. The story came from a mother who claimed an unnamed BBC presenter paid their child from the age of 17 to 20 tens of thousands of pounds for explicit photos, which they used to fund a serious drug problem. Now, the mother said she made a complaint to the BBC in May, but senior BBC managers say they were only made aware of the situation a day before the Sun article was released. The internet went mad. They were suggesting names left, right and centre, and the BBC, knowing the unnamed presenter was Huw Edwards, suspended him, take this, on full pay and contacted the Metropolitan Police. 5 days after the initial report was made, Huw Edwards' wife is the one who actually named him as the BBC presenter. In a statement, she said he was suffering from a serious mental health issue. He's receiving inpatient hospital care. At the same time, the Met Police and South Wales Police concluded that they had no evidence of criminal offences in relation to the allegations at the heart of the Sun's story. Okay, now I want to introduce a new person. There's a guy called Alex Williams who is being separately investigated by South Wales Police for offences related to possessing and distributing indecent images. It was during this investigation that they found that Alex had been WhatsApping indecent images to Huw Edwards. South Wales Police passed this information on to the Met Police, who seized Huw Edwards' phone. During the investigation, they found Alex Williams had sent 377 pictures and videos to Huw Edwards over 16 months. Now, the pair had started messaging in December 2020. 41 of the images included children, and 7 of the images were classified as Category A. Now, for those of you who don't know what Category A means, it means that they involved penetrative sexual activity. Children in the photos were believed to be as young as 7 years old. The final indecent image he sent to Huw Edwards was in August 2021, a Category A film featuring a young boy. Messages showed that Alex Williams told newsreader that the child was quite young looking and that he had more images that were illegal. Edwards told him not to send any illegal images and no more were sent, but the pair continued to exchange legal pornographic images until April 2022. In March 2024, Alex Williams received a 12-month suspended sentence. And as for Huw, according to the BBC, it says, and I quote, "Disgraced BBC News presenter Huw Edwards has been given a 6-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years after he admitted charges of making indecent images of children." Now, so what did the BBC do about Huw? February 2024, BBC released a report where they apologised to the family of the young person involved in the Sun story and apologised that the initial complaint was not escalated quickly enough. April 2024, over a month after Alex Williams was sentenced, Huw Edwards resigned from the BBC on medical advice. The BBC confirmed he was not paid to leave. And in June 2024, Huw Edwards was charged with 3 counts of making indecent images of children in relation to the WhatsApp exchange with Alex. In July 24, the Metropolitan Police publicly confirmed Edwards' arrest and charges. And he pled guilty to these charges during a 26-minute hearing at Westminster Magistrates Court. Mr. Edwards' barrister, Phillip Evans, said, Mr. Edwards did not keep any images, did not send any to anyone else, and did not and has not sought similar images from anywhere else. Mr. Evans says the defendant has both mental and physical health issues, which I respectfully find to be a crock of shit, because there are many people who suffer from mental and physical health who do not receive category A, B, or C indecent images of children. So that's a pile of piss. And I think it's really offensive to those who actually suffer with mental health issues. Now, I do want to also stress that the BBC is an organisation that is funded by the general public. It's funded by your TV licence money. And the fact that they make such gross decisions when it comes to protecting victims baffles me. It's worrying and it's very, very concerning. Like, there are people in prison who have done much less and have received more time than what Huw Edwards got. I think it's so unfair that just because he has money, he has status, he has power, he works for the likes of BBC, he's probably got friends in high places, I don't know. It just feels like not much was done. Now, the BBC have come out with a statement after all of this went down. They said, "We are appalled by his crimes. He has betrayed not just the BBC, but audiences who put their trust into him." And, you know, it's all well and good having, you know, your outrage and you being appalled, but you should have done more at the time that this all came out, in my opinion. It is not just predatory presenters who work for the BBC. No, 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 don't be silly. They're all over the place. And you might remember well-known presenter of This Morning, the show, Phillip Schofield, and his recent scandal involving a young co-worker. So here's the breakdown. In May 2023, ITV announced that Phillip would be leaving the show after more than 20 years on This Morning sofa. A lot of people were quite sad about that, I'll be honest with you. People felt like they wanted more answers until the story started getting a bit more concerning. So, the presenter was then dropped by his YMU agency. It was then revealed on May 26th that Phillip had allegedly been having an affair with a young staff member on This Morning. Phillip admitted to the affair in a statement published by the Daily Mail, but denied anything illegal had taken place. Now, I want you to know social media was ablaze. I'm talking from TikToks to Twitter to the social media detectives were out and about. Everybody was confused by this story. Everybody was surprised by the story. Bearing in mind, this is a man who a few years ago had bravely come out on national television as being openly gay.
I think all you can be in your life is honest with yourself.
Very warm and heartfelt moment. Flip to, a few years later, all of these allegations are now coming out. Phillip said, "I did have a consensual on-off relationship with a younger male colleague at This Morning. Contrary to speculation, whilst I met the man when he was a teenager," immediately no. Immediately no. But okay, let's continue. "And was asked to help him get into television." Oh, Phillip, this isn't good. "It was only after he started to work on the show that it became more than just a friendship." Whoever wrote that PR statement, fire them, is what I'm gonna say. He then goes on to say, "That relationship was unwise, but not illegal." Well, alrighty, if you say so. "It is now over." After his relationship with his young co-worker was revealed, it was clear Phillip had been unfaithful to his wife, and people began to wonder if he'd been forced to come out. After lots of speculation, Phillip released a following statement. "I am so very, very sorry as I am for having been unfaithful to my wife. I've therefore decided to step down from the British Soap Awards, my last public commitment, and I'm resigning from ITV with immediate effect." But he comes clean. On the 5th of June, Holly Willoughby addresses the Phillip Schofield drama.
"Feels very strange indeed sitting here without Phil.
On her first day back on This Morning, after half-term break. Now, I do want to point out and say Holly had kept silent. I mean, Holly had said nothing. Again, if you don't know who Holly and Phillip are, they were like two peas in a pod. The fact that she kept absolutely dead silent, everybody was like, Holly, babe, if you say nothing, this is weird. Now, what makes things worse is that Phillip's incident followed, like directly followed, the recent conviction of his brother, Timothy, for sexual offences involving a child. You can't quite write this. This has led a lot of people to question if this is something that runs in the family. Now, I understand that that could be seen as a ridiculous notion, but people basically just have questions. But this hasn't stopped him, okay? Phillip Schofield has just recently announced that he will be back appearing on our television in a new TV series. The 62-year-old will appear on Channel 5's Castaway, which sees him stranded on an island just off of Madagascar for 10 days. In an Instagram post, Schofield writes, "Now you know how I spent my summer," which, I mean, listen, it feels as though whenever a person goes through scandal, they either go on like some I'm lost in the jungle pilgrimage to find themselves. But the fact of the matter is, Phillip, you had a weird relationship with a teenager. Yeah, it's weird. But that's all we've got time for. Let me know, guys, which controversy has rocked your world today. And if you have any that I don't know about or I haven't spoken about, drop them in the comments because, listen, I know that there are ample. Thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you when I see you. Toodles!